So this is an old conversation that I had. I have a lot of these. There were a lot of times where I had conversations off stream that I would record, but then once I had a great uptick in quality, I didn't want to upload these old conversations because I just felt like it was below the new standard of quality that I had. I realized though that sometimes within these conversations, we have information that I think is vital for the reparations conversation. You'll find that a lot of time people bring up so much obfuscation trying to prevent what is the right thing that this country should be doing. I'm hoping you guys can support this by liking, sharing, commenting, and doing all the good things to boost it for the algorithm. Thank you for your time. You feel that reparations is bad.
No, I don't. That's what I was trying to explain. I was like, the past like day or so of me and Mike talking was just me trying to show him that I had explained what he was telling me I meant, which was not what I meant. Does that make sense?
Maybe. So you guys got into some meta nonsense that I just can't fully comprehend. But there were certain comments that made a bunch that I didn't get. For instance, you made the statement that you felt that Africa should be just as liable for reparations as the United States for Black Americans, right?
Yeah, let me go find that, because I know what I know. I said that.
You don't have to find it. Do you believe that?
No, I don't think they're. Really what I meant was that, and I said this a couple of times. Like, if I was Black, I feel like I would be just as mad at them. Does that make sense?
You would be just as mad at Africa, right? So then you're saying that they should
not Africa as a whole, but just like the people that sold my ancestors. Okay. Right.
So you'd be just as mad at them as the people who were doing the cruel treatment?
Who bought them.
Okay. So do you understand do you understand the difference? Do you understand the difference between chattel slavery and the type of indentured servitude that was practiced in Africa?
I guess I do not.
Okay, let me break that down.
I had assumed that.
No. It's okay. If you didn't know, then here, I'll break it down to you. It doesn't matter what you assumed. It's what's true. And what is true is that chattel slavery was literally dehumanizing, saying that the person was literally no longer a human, but property. They had zero agency whatsoever, and they were property. Yes, that's what chattel slavery is in the United States. However, in Africa, the type of slavery that they had, and also, by the way, chattel slavery, because you owned the person, also meant that their offsprings were also owned. So that meant that they were your property, and any children that they created were also your property irrevocably.
I know that.
Okay, now the difference between that and Africa is that in Africa, they had practices that were similar to what like they had in Ireland, indentured servitude, which meant for a specific point in time and direct punishment for a crime, you might be required to be a servant, but you still had you still had rights. If they murdered you as a servant, they would still be punished. You still obviously your children were still yours. You still retained your humanity. It's just you were required to work off that debt, and those were totally different systems. So when Africa was trading people in this scenario, they had no concept or clue about the brutality and the disgusting dehumanizingness of the transatlantic slave trade and what those people would endure upon coming to the United States. So because of that, it's impossible for me to hold Africa responsible for the disgusting, vile, dehumanizing brutality that Americans did or that the Europeans did, because that's not something that Africa was aware of, nor did they condone or understand was actually happening. Do you think that's fair?
I mean, yeah, based off what you said, I think that's fair.
Okay, that's why I think it gets really offensive to some people.
And that's
when you're, trying to compare
this is also another thing is when y'all called me out on that specific comment, I really didn't I tried to explain how that wasn't the main, like, talking point for me.
Sure, it
I
doesn't have to
don't
be the
know. I
main,
don't
but
even
but it
really
was
know
a
how
talking point
I
that was
brought
stated.
that up.
It doesn't matter if
Right.
it's the main. It doesn't matter where it lies. It's just
I
it is
understand.
something you said, and it was
Try.
something you were
I
saying that's completely
tried.
wrong and off base and completely misguided, and it needed to be corrected.
All right. That's fair.
All right. The other thing that you said that I caught wind of, you said something about taxes and about how you felt it was unfair for white people today to be paying reparations or paying taxes on reparations today, right?
But I said specifically those involved should. I
None of the
understand
people
the
living
need
today
for
were
those.
involved directly
But
in reparation. I mean, in slavery. Number one, and number two, we're
you
not
know we're
talking about
talking about
holding. We would
ancestors
never,
on both sides.
but we're not talking about ancestors. We're talking about the government. So that's a complete non sequitur. We're not talking about the individuals responsible. The reparations claim is talking about the government. And do we still have the same United States government under the same United States Constitution that condoned the slavery that happened within its sovereign
Right.
nation?
I understand that.
Okay, so
But
then why would you
and
be
so
talking about ancestors and individual responsibilities on a claim that is levied at the government that is still functioning
I'm
today?
gonna explain it. The money we have to have money, right? We gotta have the money from somewhere, right?
Wow.
And so I was trying to talk to like Joe Lewis was talking to me about it, and all I was trying to do was find ideas about where that could come from.
Right, but your ideas are
So
asinine if your idea, from the very basis of your idea, is to remove the onus or responsibility from the very entity that we are holding accountable and to start shifting it to non sequiturs that we
I'm not
obviously are
trying
not. But you
to
no no no
do
no no
that.
no. I don't care about what you're trying to do. It is what
I
you are
didn't
doing.
do
But you did do that when you start referencing the ancestors of people who actually committed the acts. You're now no longer talking about the governmental body that was responsible for sanctioning it and is still in operation today. Those are two distinct parties. So once you start talking about unrelated parties, you are shifting it away. I don't know what your intention is. I don't care. What I'm telling you is that is effectively what's happening. Do you understand that a conversation centered around the government to then begin talking about individuals and familial ancestry is an entirely different thing, right?
I had just all right.
Is that I'm sorry, is that an
I'm trying.
entirely different thing?
The point is that the government is made like taxes are how the government
Is
has
that an
money.
entirely different thing?
I don't even know. I
Did you
don't
not
know.
hear what I said?
I tried.
Okay, listen again. What I'm saying is, we were talking about reparations from the government, a governmental body, right?
Right.
Which has its own sovereign nation, its own whatever, right? We were
Right,
talking
and we're
about
all a
that.
part of that.
Now, when you shift the conversation from the government to familial ancestry for individuals responsible, do you understand that that is a different body?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, so
Specifically
that's
for the
what you did.
conversation- But specifically for the conversation that I had with Joe Lewis, I asked him who would receive reparations and where will the money come from.
The
He
government.
said, right, I understand that. And he said he only speaks for himself, but the only people who would get reparations would be the descendants of slaves,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So at the whole conversation I had about taxes was with him specifically, and it was based on his answers.
What is him responding that the descendants of slaves would be the recipients of the reparations, because reparations is to make right a specific wrong, so then the descendants of that wrong would be responsible. But hold on, but the wrong came at the hands of the government. So what does talking about familial ancestry do to that conversation? It seems like it
Because
distorts and distinguishes the guilty party, right? Don't you feel like that's a bit of a non sequitur?
I, all right, let me explain my reasoning
But I don't
for
want you
what
to
I
just
said.
explain why you said it. I
Well,
want you to acknowledge. I want you to acknowledge the
all
point
right,
that
say it
I
one more
just
time.
made. I'm so
Say it one more time.
okay. So this is where we're running into a problem, is because it seems like consistently you want to recontextualize the things that you're saying or try to tell me what you think now. What I'm telling you is the things that you communicated thus far were absolutely disgusting. So now I'm trying to help you understand where the failures are. So as opposed to me wanting to hear you recontextualize your opinions, which
Which
have
you don't.
already been demonstrably wrong, right? Because you are obviously uninformed on the topic. So because of
But
that,
say
I don't
that.
care about what your original idea is or about how you feel now or about how you're recontextualizing. I want to address the things that you said and show them where the errors are. And once you have been educated on the error of the statements that you've made, then you can then start becoming and saying, hey, well, I have new ideas now that I recognize how disgusting the previous things I said were. Until then, I cannot sit here and let you spout off more
I'm
nonsense
just trying
that's
to ask
completely
you a question.
unfounded. But you're not just asking me questions, you keep trying to explain or clarify
All right,
what
well
you
then let me
meant.
ask you.
Go ahead
Is
and
that
ask
fair?
the question, but if you'll answer the questions that I'm asking you at the same time.
All right, say yours.
I don't
Say
remember the
yours.
question now, but go ahead and
I know.
ask your
I know.
question.
But all right, so the people who receive them are the descendants of slaves, right? Obviously.
Yes.
So the government is at fault. That is an understood thing. The
Yes.
government has to get money to make this happen.
Sure.
Rightfully so.
Or appropriate
So,
money.
right. So, and that's what I said. You either have to have a new form of tax, a new income for the government, or you have to divert tax from something else to reparations,
Sure.
right?
Sure.
So all I was trying to do with Joe was ask him what he thought about it, right? And the only answer he would give me was that's the government's job. And I said, okay, I mean I get that.
That's
But
not what you were
I
doing.
just
You
feel
weren't asking him questions. You were telling him things like you didn't think it was fair for white people who weren't directly responsible for slavery to be paying taxes for reparations. That's what you were telling him, right? You weren't
I
asking a
said
question.
that.
You were telling him
I asked any
that
question.
ridiculous things. That's
I
what
mean,
you said. And obviously, let me
that
explain to
was
you why
my
that's.
opinion,
I got
but
you.
I asked
So
him
great.
many
So I don't
questions.
care. So right, good. So again, that opinion is unfounded and ridiculous. So let's explain why. First off, the government is of the people and by the people. We all bear responsibility for the things that the government has done. When you recognize that the government has done something that has obviously negative consequences and impacts on individuals, then it makes all of the sense in the world why you would say then the government should fix that wrong. Now, the government already operates in its own capacity to obtain the finances necessary in order to do its job. It has functioned that way. We do not question literally everything the government spends its money on. I don't even know, nor do you, nor does anyone else. If you were to ask me how much was Biden's budget on literally anything, you have no freaking clue, no freaking idea where the money is generated. So now, when the government is continuing to function within its capacity to make sure that it rights a wrong that it created and to repair that injustice, I don't think that it's fair now when that thing is happening, which you claim to pretend that you want, for you to then start becoming the Inspector Gadget to try to figure out exactly what finances are happening or exactly where this money is coming from and what specific tax will be. No. I'm not buying that. You're not asking that question because you're truly concerned about it. You're asking that question because you're trying to imply that the tax is unfair, as you stated, which is ridiculous because we don't question taxes on anything else. Literally anything else. There's no
But
other thing that we're ever talking about a direct tax. Like, oh, this thing is coming directly from my income tax. You don't do that. You don't question that. We know the government has the ability to spend in its capacity. So at this point, it seems like
I
you're
understand.
just trying your best to bring up obfuscation to prevent and derail from the needed reparations that are justified by anyone's moral conscience. That's what's
That is
happening here.
not what I'm doing.
That is exactly what you're
I'm
doing.
genuinely trying to figure it out, because the basic logic here would be that black people are not going to be contributing money to reparations,
That's
right?
stupid. No, where would you get that
That
dumb
doesn't make
idea?
sense,
No,
right?
no, no, that doesn't. That's a stupid idea. Once again, we're all beholden to the government, and we expect that black people pay taxes just like every other citizen does. The government will decide how to appropriate the money given. But again, to look at this erroneously as if the direct money coming from my wallet is going directly to reparations is retarded, because we all know that the government, as I stated before, functions in its own capacity and will continue to do so, appropriates funds as it sees fit. We do not have direct voting on how the government's going to spend those funds. Congress will be the ones to determine those things. So since that is the case, the government will continue to function at its capacity, and to then insinuate that black people would some sort of way be precluded or excluded from being able to contribute towards this thing, right, that the government will be appropriating, is retarded. It shows a lack of information, and it shows some brand new, ridiculously unfounded idea that there's going to be some sort of direct money that's going to be coming directly from specific taxes that's going to determine it. And if that's not happening, then you understand that taxes are generated by all citizens, and since taxes are generated by all citizens will be contributing towards its reparations. Because we all benefit from the reparations. Because as a country, we do better when our black citizens do better. So then as a result, it makes all of the sense why everyone would contribute, and the government would continue to pay money and appropriate the funds in its typical capacity. And we don't need any brand new analysis onto the very specific leverages that are going to be generating this money. What the freak are we doing here? It seems like, again, unfounded, unnecessary obfuscation from a person who's antagonistic towards reparation. But you don't ask but you've never asked those questions specifically about literally anything else the government has ever spent its money on. The specific money. Okay, what? Name one of those topics.
I want to know where my tax dollars are going.
Right. You don't
on anything.
Sure.
Any budget that.
So then, okay, good. Then you always want to know. Tell me the direct budget of Biden's anything. You don't know anything, right? Hold on, wait. So then I got you. Don't sit here and lie to me and yourself. You're lying to yourself, and you're trying to lie to me, and I'm not about to have it. Don't sit here and lie to me and try to pretend that you do have a concern for these budgetary expenses when you don't know anything. You've literally, I'll tell you. Yes, I will tell you, because you've never done a single thing to look up any of the information. No. Don't say every single. You don't know one single. If you know literally nothing on the subject, and we have the internet right here at the edge of our fingertips, then I know that you have the capacity to discover the information that you say you're concerned about, yet you know nothing. So the fact that you know literally nothing, and I'm not exaggerating here, the fact that you know the fact that you know literally nothing, not a single number about Biden's budget whatsoever.
Biden's Build Back Better plan was like $1.2 trillion. I remember that from like 2 years ago.
You just Googled that now.
I didn't. Don't tell me what I did. That's what your problem is right now. Is you're assuming.
The problem is no. The problem is okay. So you know the Build Back. Okay, hold on. The Build Back Better plan was something that was proposed. How much? And tell me any specific thing about that money. You're talking about the whole thing as a whole. Tell me how much. Tell me any individual thing. Where is any of that money going? What's even in the Build Back Better plan?
Infrastructure.
What does that mean? That's general as broad as hell. What does that mean? What does infrastructure mean?
Green
what?
Vehicles, solar power.
These are all broad, general nonsense. You know nothing about how much money is going. How much money is going towards solar panels? No. Oh, you don't know. How much money is going towards batteries? You don't know. You don't know any of this information, yet you want to get real specific. Of course it doesn't, but you want to get real specific when we're talking about reparations. Dishonesty.
Give me 2 seconds to talk. The point is that that plan directly benefits every single person, and as you just said earlier, which I heard, you're saying that everyone will contribute to reparations, and then that will directly benefit everyone. But that is just not true.
Okay, well, yeah. Again, so you've already demonstrated that you're uninformed about the history. You're uninformed about the economic impact of the systemic oppression in this country. You're uninformed about what
No, I'm
reparations even
not.
freaking is. You're uninformed about what the actual benefits would be and how it would benefit the economy. Yet you're telling me yet
I
again another
understand how
unfounded
it would
opinion.
benefit the
Sure, I
economy, but
believe you do.
it will
So
take
from the nigga
people
that's
out of
actually
poverty
from the nigga that's
and
actually making the
contribute.
claim that black people would be the ones responsible. I mean that black people would be excluded from it. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you're particularly uninformed. Particularly informed.
Ask
So
you a
here's where the
question.
problem comes in. When you
I
were
asked
having
you.
those assets, no, yeah, you're asking these really ridiculous questions, and you're not
They're
truly,
not
you're not.
ridiculous.
Yes, they are. You're not trying to ask questions. You're trying
Oh,
to catechize. You're trying to
no,
make.
I'm
You're
not.
trying to. Yes, you are. You are masking. You
Stop
don't even know what
telling
that
me
word
what I'm
means.
doing,
You're trying
man.
to mask your opinions in the forms of questions. You're really just making statements in interrogative form.
No,
That's what
I'm
you're
not.
actually doing, and I'm not here for it. So look, since of course
You're
you
not
are
here to
completely
you're not here
uninformed.
to have a
You're
conversation,
right. I am
honestly,
not.
man.
You're not. Right. I'm not here to have a conversation.
You
I'm
got
here.
me in here to
You're
tell
right.
me what you
I got
think,
you. I'm
and you
here.
have
That's
no
exactly
interest in
it.
hearing
I'm here
or
to tell you,
talking about
don't
it.
talk in my Discord about subjects that you don't know nothing about, sullying up the chat with all of your absolute nonsense. It comes across as racist. I'm not accusing you of being racist, but that's the way it comes across, and it's offensive to enough people that I'm telling you, stay out of the chat about subjects that you know nothing about. And if that feels like you're unwelcome in the Discord, then take it however the freak you want to. That's what I'm here to tell you.
So what you're saying is you don't care to have any open dialogue about things,
Not with racists or
and you
idiots. And
and you
you're one
think
of the
I'm an
two.
idiot.
You're one of the two for sure.
Okay. Well, that's just ridiculous, man.
Okay. I'm sorry
Or
that it
both.
feels ridiculous to you.
It is ridiculous because
Okay.
you won't even like you have no interest in
You wrote
talking.
dissertations. I read it all. It was
Killing me.
nonsense. And every time when I had to ask you about it, you would try to lie and talk around it. Like, no, I wasn't saying
Well,
that. And I have to quote it to you. Yeah,
because
you
I
did
wasn't.
say this. No,
Well,
I was
I
just
tried
asking
to
you a question.
explain.
Yeah, no. I read it. I knew better. I was trying to see if you'd be honest enough that we could have a genuine conversation. But I see now that we can't, which is why I'm saying, since you can't be honest, since you refuse to be informed, stay the hell out of these conversations.
What am I not being honest about?
Yeah, I already told you. You're not listening either. I don't want to have this
You're
conversation anymore. Where are you? Are
man.
you willing to remove yourself from the Discord, or do you need to be removed?
All right, brother. Well, I guess that's it then. That was a pretty unproductive conversation.
It was productive for me. I got it off my chest. Thank you for sullying up my chat.